The availability and costs of aviation fuel, the air travel limitations arising from the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and sector-wide unemployment being a significant aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic are just a few challenges bedeviling the global aviation sector. Nigeria has recorded its own fair share of these challenges, with the nominal GDP output of the sector crashing from 84.73 billion naira in the first quarter of 2022 to 32.65 billion naira by the second quarter of the year. Still, stakeholders are not resting on their oars, as the Aviation Roundtable Safety Initiative in the past week brought together aviation experts, professionals, and heads of government parastatals in the sector to design a pathway for the current political administration. We shall bring you high points of this deliberation on today's edition of Aviation This Week, as I bid you welcome to the program. I am Bukola Koka. We start off the program here in Lagos, where investors and players in the aviation sector are hosted to the 2023 second quarter business meeting with the theme Agenda for a New Administration. Our background report focuses on the event, which also served as a platform to reflect on issues confronting the country's aviation sector as speakers preferred solutions to the myriad problems.
The conference hall of the Gulf View Hotel, GRA Ikeja, is hosting professionals in the aviation sector. The conversation at the forum is the advancement of the aviation sector in Nigeria to ensure that more private citizens with means invest in the sector. Another topic up for conversation is the issue of lawmaking by the legislative arm of government, and practitioners advocate making of liberal laws that will attract investment. The outgoing president of the Aviation Safety Roundtable Initiative gives a brief on how far organizations have worked with previous governments to aid development in the aviation industry.
Merger was successful in banking and should be successful in aviation. Dwelling on fleet size rather than share capital. In the banks, they use share capital. In the airline, it has to be fleet size. On-time performance of Nigerian airline is woeful and deplorable, with an average of 61% delay, except Ibom Air, yet very far below acceptable world average. Sustaining a flight in a slot regime such as London, New York, Joburg, with such deplorable on-time performance will be practically impossible. At foreign airlines must be restricted to a single point of entry into Nigeria, destination of their choice. This will also enhance hub creation. The two airlines must be designated to all international destinations presently being serviced by foreign airlines. Airlines A and B, that is Nigeria Force White and Nigeria Force Green, their fleet together must reciprocate all the foreign airlines. If BA and Virgin, they are doing 15, the two of them must do 15. If the market size is 15, we'll divide the 15 to 2. The British will fly 7, the two Nigerian will fly 7.
The chairman of the event and an investor, Senator Musa Dede, enumerates some issues facing private aviation carriers, which set the table for the main speaker.
We did request that changes in policies should be discussed with stakeholders and implemented in a manner that will create least disruption and instability to the industry. Okay? CBN should empower the commercial banks to create a window of long-term low-interest funding for direct lending to aviation industries. That doesn't mean that you have to hold an aircraft. The industry will require at least 500 billion for this purpose. In addition, government should set aside 20% of excess crude account fund for infrastructure development in the transportation sector, not just aviation, but in the entire transportation sector. Now, government should review downwards all taxes and charges relating to airlines operation. These should include, amongst others, cancellation of import tax to duties on aircraft and spares, because they keep coming up with different rules and regulations depending on who is the president, who is the minister, who is the DG or chairman of customs. Okay? Significant reduction of stamp duty on aircraft purchase and lease agreement, waiver on aircraft leases, withholding taxes and VAT, reduction in land charge by fan.
The theme for this quarter's brunch business meeting is setting an agenda for a new administration, increasing the numbers, a topic the chairman of Air Peace Airlines speaks extensively on.
When we talk about reforms, first of all, BASA, the second thing is finance. Make loans available to the airlines at very little interest rates. And they will blow and make it easily accessible too, like in other climes. I have loans. I'm swimming in loans. Some of my loans I took at 26%. 26%. When I tell foreigners this, they say, no, it's a lie. I have loans. Some are 26%, some are 23%, 24%. At the time I got at 13%, it was short-lived. The thing now went up again. Nobody does that. So if you want the airlines to blossom, allow them to access finance at a rate that is affordable and at the same time reasonable, not what is happening now. Then, of course, we talk about local production of Jet A1. What you buy fuel in the morning is not what you buy it in the evening. The thing fluctuates. Some people said, oh, airlines, you people should hedge. Me, I've hedged before. At the end of the day, the person couldn't even give me fuel.
There was also a panel session which focused on improving investment in the aviation sector, the subject matter.
I want us here to agree.
Resolutions here are expected to reach the President and his cabinet of ministers when he appoints them, with Nigerians paying keen attention to see how some of the issues highlighted here are addressed.
Up next, we speak with the new president of the Aviation Safety Roundtable Initiative, Air Commodore Ademola Onitiju, who also lends his voice to the concerns expressed by his colleagues, calling for an enabling environment for the private sector to invest more in the sector.
What we want is an unencumbered Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, autonomous in its professional judgment, and discharging its responsibilities unhindered by political interference. So if we have such organization, sanity will reign in the aviation industry, and many other things will follow. So for us, NCAA should be allowed to perform its functions, even if there is a superintendent minister. NCAA is the representative, more or less, of the International Civil Aviation Organization that recommends standards and best practices all over the world, you know. So NCAA is its representative here, and it should be allowed to do its job without any interference or compromise. The Aviation Roundtable position concerning this issue of national carrier is that the nomenclature, national carrier, is no longer the vogue now, except for some countries, especially some Middle Eastern countries who have excess oil or dollar earnings to throw about. Aviation is a very capital-intensive venture, and you need to have money. Those people have very deep pockets. They are the ones who can afford to acquire fleet of aircraft as if you are acquiring bicycles without any immediate impact on their economies. UAE and Qatar are in that category, and they have their objectives. They want to use or to maximize the use of the aviation industry as a catalyst for tourism and economic development of their nation, to make themselves attractive, connectable, and accessible by world economy players, you know. So to them, having a national carrier that is a national and a carrier that is funded likely by government could be their priority or could be fashionable with them. But in other economies where the private sector is well developed, they can serve as flag carriers for their nations. The concept of flag carriers is like the nationality of an aircraft on the international plane. And it could be as a result of air services agreements, which could be bilateral or multilateral, where it's more than two countries. And since it's an agreement that you can operate air services to my country while I can do same to your country. Other details they normally indicate are the frequencies, how often can we come, and probably we can even designate an an airport or aerodrome where you can pick and drop passengers in pursuit of the provisions of those bilateral air services agreements. Oftentimes, commercial agreement could even leverage on the provisions of the bilateral air services agreement, and a relationship could be formed. But the basic thing is between two nations or three nations or more, such air services agreements are the basics. And if you are unable, maybe you do not have a carrier that has long haul or big aircraft that can be continental or cannot intercontinental or regional capability, and so you are not able to utilize yours. You can't blame the other partner. But if aircraft that are designated, registered in your country, are the ones to utilize your own part of the agreement, it is your flag carrier because it is your aircraft. It is registered in your aircraft registry in your country. And it will be seen as your representative pursuing the provisions of the agreement in that bilateral air services agreement, you know. So it has ceased to be fashionable for country to spend scarce resources acquiring aircraft to be branded as national carrier. You understand?
Yes.
But in the case of flag carrier, which is much more in vogue now, apart from those ones, the exceptions I made of the Middle East countries. Countries with economy like ours and our peculiar situation whereby you hardly see government succeed in business due to several infractions on what ought to be best practices, interferences, sometimes fraudulent activities, and several other unpatriotic acts. They hardly succeed. But where the government provides the enabling environment for aviation to thrive, private sector funds could be used to lease or acquire outright purchase aircraft, get them registered in Nigeria, obtain air operator certificate, and they could, in conjunction with the officials of Ministry of Aviation and the Civil Aviation Authority, once they are registered and they have the show capacity, you know, they could utilize the Nigerian benefits as contained in the Air Services Agreement.
Coming up on Aviation this week. On Newsflash, the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, orders the indefinite suspension of the domestic operations of Max Air, plus other main aviation news for the week. That's after the break. Stay with us.
Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, took over operations of Arik Air in February 2017 as part of measures to save the airline from bankruptcy due to alleged mismanagement by owners of Arik and a debt above 300 billion naira. Recently, the chairman of Arik Air attempted to reclaim the airline following a high court ruling faulting AMCON on transparency. Fresh facts have emerged in the conflict of interest between shareholders of Arik and the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, with the latter showing evidence of failed attempts to return the airline to its founders. The shareholders further request that AMCON assist to remove Arik from CBN debtors list and assist obtain funds for capital injection to rebuild the airline at Bank of Industry interest rate. Domestic operations of Max Air, one of the airlines in Nigeria, has been put on hold as a result of a suspension by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. In a letter, NCAA directed the suspension of parts A3 and D43 with regards to operation of Max Air's Boeing 737 aircraft type with immediate effect. Part A3 focuses on aircraft authorization and D43 deals with aircraft listing of the operation specifications issued to Max Air Limited. The suspension means that all domestic operations will be halted pending the regulatory agency's lifting of the suspension. The occurrences listed in the letter include loss of number 1 main landing gear during a flight to Abuja from Yola on 7th May 2023. Another incident was fuel contamination of the main fuel tanks of another Boeing 737, leading to the auxiliary power shutdown on ground in Yola Airport on 7th July 2023, and a third incident of an aborted takeoff which occurred at the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport on 11th of July 2023. Top officials at the Lagos International Airport have been suspended indefinitely until investigations into the theft of signal lights on the 18 left runway of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, is completed. The lights in question were installed in November 2022 to put an end to after-dusk restrictions on runway 18 left and 36 right, and it enables planes use the runway at night, a boost to airport operations. The runway had been undergoing maintenance over the past few months. The authority also notes that it is not clear when the theft occurred. According to reports, the light stolen is known as the Precision Approach Path Indicator, which are visual aid that help pilots adjust the altitude position during landing.
On the foreign scene today, we ask how well has China's self-developed large passenger aircraft C919 aided aviation growth on the Asian continent.
The commercial operations of the C919, China's self-developed large passenger aircraft, appears to be blossoming, with China Eastern Airlines launching such operations for its second C919 plane. The plane flew from the Shanghai Pudong International Airport and reached the Shanghai Hongqua International Airport for the launch, which took place less than 2 months after the C919 officially entered the civil aviation market. It's the second of the 5 C919 planes purchased by China Eastern Airlines from the Commercial Aircraft Corporation of China Limited, developer of the fleet. The new plane will join the first one in serving the China Eastern Airlines particular route and will gradually fly to more others. As of July the 12th, the airline's first C919 has served 11,095 passengers in 87 commercial flights. The C919 successfully completed its first commercial flight from Shanghai to Beijing on March the 28th, marking its official entry into the civil aviation market. The commercial operation of the fleet meant that for the first time, China's civil aviation market got the country's self-developed trunk jetliner. That's according to authorities. With 8 business and 156 economy seats, the single-aisle C919 aircraft has various passenger-friendly features, such as a 2.25-meter high aisle ceiling and drop-down overhead bins. The middle seat of the economy class is 1.5 centimeters wider than its neighboring seats.
And on the foreign scene, strong partnerships are emerging in the European aviation market as Airbus assembles its first line of carriers in China. Also, Ryanair is set for a surge in passenger numbers in Central and Eastern Europe, CEE, by at least 50% over the next decade.
Ryanair expects passenger numbers in Central and Eastern Europe to surge by at least 50% over the next decade as it looks to dominate in a less developed market, also targeted by Wizz Air. Europe's biggest low-cost carrier has ordered as many as 300 Boeing jets as it seeks to take advantage of the rebound in air traffic following the COVID-19 pandemic, and the company sees demand for new routes in Eastern Europe.
We plan to grow in the whole region of Central and Eastern Europe in upcoming years. Our recent Boeing order, we just ordered over 300 planes, is going to support our growth. We plan to have over 300 million passengers in upcoming decade per year. So Central Eastern Europe is an important element of this growth. We want to focus very much on this region. We see that this is going to be a large part of our upcoming expansion.
While Poland has long been one of Ryanair's key markets, Wojciech Golbiowska said the company was now redoubling its focus on other countries in the region.
Our goal is to become #1 in markets like Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, and we plan to do it with delivering more routes, better fares and more traveling choices for our passengers. I see Central Eastern Europe taking part in that, being part of this growth. In terms of size, it's pretty hard at this moment to say about the exact numbers, but we hope that the whole region is going to grow at least by 50%.
Hungarian budget airline Wizz Air will be its main competitor as it offers similar cheap fares as well as connections to the Middle East. The pertinent question is, who will dominate the Euro aviation market?
Airbus delivered an aircraft assembled in North China's Tianjin municipality to a European client for the first time on Tuesday. The European company that took delivery of its first A321neo aircraft assembled at Airbus's final assembly line in Tianjin is the Hungarian low-cost carrier Wizz Air. The A321neo, the largest member of the A320 family, can carry up to 244 passengers. As a narrow-body aircraft in its payload capacity is comparable to a wide-body aircraft. Opened in 2008, the facility in Tianjin serves as the first Airbus commercial aircraft assembly line outside of Europe. Since its first A320 delivery in 2009, the center has delivered more than 600 aircrafts. The European manufacturer expanded the capability of its Tianjin line to A321 production in 2021 to meet its ramp-up goals and growing demand for the model. The first A321neo assembled at Airbus Tianjin was delivered to Chinese private carrier Juneyao Air in March. The construction of a second final assembly line for Airbus A320 series aircraft in Tianjin will begin in the fourth quarter of this year. When the new assembly line becomes operational, Tianjin will have 2 single-aisle aircraft production lines and a wide-body aircraft completion and delivery center, further enhancing Airbus's global production capacity and promoting the innovation and development of the China-European aviation industry.
And this is where we touch down on the program this week. Hope you enjoy the flight. We'll have more updates and more for you next week. I am Bukola Koka. Bye for now.